can't help but feel like ever since the inception of foldable phones, it was almost an untold prophecy that once Google made a foldable device, that said device would be the chosen one to really show the ultimate experience a foldable device brings. After 2 weeks with the Pixel Fold, Google's first foldable phone, it seems more on a dark path to suffering from the Skywalker effect. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain. If you have the love for the pop culture phenomenon that is Star Wars, then the analogy of the Skywalker effect will probably make sense because the Pixel Fold feels like the Anakin Skywalker of foldable smartphones, and the initial great potential that it shows and things we've never seen before in a foldable, but also a lack of discipline and readiness that potentially questions if the prophecy of it being the chosen one was misread. Let's start things off with the design and build quality. As subjective as it may sound, this is a 10 out of 10 for Google and most definitely marks the biggest highlight of the Pixel Fold. Why? The form factor. What Google has achieved is not only my favorite foldable form factor to date, I will also say it could subjectively and also objectively be the best. It's really down to still giving you a large mini tablet display with a 7.6 inch inner display and a 6:5 aspect ratio. And what that in turn means is the 5.8 inch outer display with a 17.4:9 aspect ratio. I cannot tell you how happy this makes me because what now you have is the width of a phone like the Pixel 7 Pro and the S23 Ultra, the height of a phone that is shorter than the iPhone 14 Pro, and most important, a phone when closed that is no thicker than the Pixel 7 Pro. Let me touch on why this is so clutch. The fact that Google managed to include an IPX8 rating for water resistance while achieving a zero gap hinge when closed pretty much proves that both can be done at the same time. And to top it off, Google finally listened and added a matte finish to the back of the Pixel Fold, which gives me so much hope for the Pixel 8 Pro coming later. And I'm glad to see Google are tapping into the days of the Pixel 4. The icing on the cake though would have been a brush finish for the frame and camera housing rather than a glossy finish. Apart from that, this is unapologetically a Pixel device, especially when it comes to the design identity. From the weight, balance, fit, and finish of the Pixel Fold, this is by far the best foldable phone I've used, and this truly shows the potential of why the Pixel Fold is meant to be the chosen one. Progressing to the display experience, as stated briefly before, the outer cover display is using a 5.8 inch flat OLED panel with a 17.4:9 aspect ratio, a 2092 by 1080p FHD plus resolution, and a smooth 120Hz high refresh rate, all covered in Gorilla Glass Victus. When opening to access the inner display, you are then greeted with a 7.6 inch ultra thin glass OLED panel with a 6:5 aspect ratio, a 2208 by 1840 resolution, and again a smooth 120Hz high refresh rate. The more passport form factor really sells the user experience of the display to be equally as good on the outside as it should be on the inside, and especially for someone like myself that has been begging for an outer display experience that is worthy of the high asking price of foldables, I'm so glad to see how good it is here on the Pixel Fold. You realize there's more on the outer display when watching things like videos. Using it as a normal phone, that there is no issues with things like scaling with any app, and also videos just fit like a glove. For all the praise I can give the display experience though, on the outside and in, the only thing that I was really suspect about was the brightness levels. Now Google rates the outer display with a brightness level of 1200 nits in HDR, but with my reading, with auto brightness disabled, I was getting around 730 nits. Same goes for the inner display. Google rates it for 1000 nits in HDR, but with my readings, I was getting around 774 nits. Now what that tells me is that Google's brightness readings might only occur when auto brightness is on and active, and in special conditions where maybe it's very sunny, when also viewing specific content, and even then, the brightness levels leaves a decent amount on the table. Now look, I'm based in the UK, which means even during summer, it's nothing but mostly rain, darkness, and gloom. But for my homeboy Fresh, aka Courtney Hill, who's based in Southern California, where the sun just doesn't stop shining, if you check out his review of the Pixel Fold, which, let me just say, the bro's got the 50th anniversary hip hop edition of the Pixel Fold. So he's definitely the one that co-signed that the max brightness levels outdoors just ain't it. But for my own bias of how enjoyable the inner display is, and especially the outer display on the Pixel Fold, with still the general statement of this device being the chosen one, I can still say subjectively, this is still my favorite display experience on a foldable. And if you've also made it this far into the video and you are enjoying the experience, then be sure to like and also subscribe. If there was any part of the Pixel Fold that was an indicator of lack of readiness for the prime of foldable devices, it would be the specs of the performance. And I know what you're gonna say. How is having 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM and the option of 256 and 512 gigs of storage and Tensor G2 power not ready for prime time? Well, it's the Tensor G2 and also the starting price of £1,749 up to £1,869. Now look, there's nothing inherently wrong with the Tensor G2. My biggest fear is the efficiency of the chip, the longevity of the chip, and also for the asking price, I would have much rather Google wait for the Tensor G3 to really justify the asking price of the Pixel Fold. Again, look, let me defend the Pixel Fold because the overall performance has been great with no slowdowns or hiccups, which really shows that Google know how to put the Tensor G2 to work. But still, the long term, how is it going to hold up? And for the asking price, I would have still preferred the Tensor G3. No camera system is perfect, but Google were very confident to state that the Pixel Fold would be your favorite camera system on a foldable. Now look, favorite doesn't automatically translate to being outright the best, but in a lot of ways, even with a few gripes that I have with the Pixel camera system, which is not exclusive to the Pixel Fold, I can definitely say Google is on the money. I definitely recommend you watch my full ultimate camera comparison of the Pixel Fold versus the Galaxy Z Fold 4. And also, depending on when you're watching this video, there should be a follow-up camera comparison against the Z Fold 5. So definitely sit back and relax because that's where all the details and breakdown will be. In the meantime though, for the sake of this review, let's talk pros and cons of the camera experience with the Pixel Fold. And with the pros, Google's flexibility when recording video is still the best you can experience on a foldable phone, with the ability to switch between the lenses while recording in 4K 60 on the same clip without stopping recording. Heck, not even the Z Fold 4 can do that in 4K 60. The Fold 4 can't even record 4K 60 on the ultra-wide lens, which you can do on the Pixel Fold. The color science on the Pixel Fold is just unmatched, especially when it comes to skin tones. And best of all, there is a legit 5x optical zoom with Google Super Res tech. This is the best zoom performance you'll find on a foldable phone. I'm also so glad to see that the thicker bezels of the inner display didn't bother me at all, because having a proper 8 megapixel camera makes for great photos and videos, especially compared to the likes of the Z Fold 4. And to take it further, Google tackled one of the biggest annoyances I had with the camera interface of the Z Fold 4, which was the location of the cover display selfie icon, which for Google and the camera interface, they've actually placed it at the bottom left and the icon itself is larger. Thank you, Google. Now, the drawback of the camera experience first has to be the camera switching to the selfie when recording video. I wish the Pixel was able to do that. The ultra-wide field of view itself is not as wide as the Pixel 7 Pro. And also the biggest one for me has got to be the capturing process and experience of portrait mode. Google, this is not the Pixel 2 days anymore. Please allow us to see the blur in real time. Allow us to change the blur intensity before we take the shot, and also communicate with us if the portrait mode is active before we take the shot, so we know to get closer or not, because there are still too many portrait mode photos that just fell with no blur at all. Again, watch my full camera comparison. But that's my experience of the Pixel Fold camera, and definitely shows it's worth the wait as it being a chosen one. Deep breaths, because if there's any part of the Pixel Fold experience that screams the fall to the dark side, it's got to be the software experience. And I hate for this section to be a session of just how much of a missed opportunity things are on the software side, but truth be told, the prophecy of the chosen one feels misread here. Here's all the good. Everything you know and love about the Pixel software experience, from things like the Pixel 7 Pro series and the Pixel 7 with now playing live captions, and all the camera features like Magic Eraser and more are here, so I won't bore you with all of that again. In fact, the outer cover display experience is still the best part of the Pixel Fold experience because it feels absolutely no different to a Pixel 7 and Pixel 7 Pro. And this is what I've wanted from a foldable. And with Google's experience, it's smooth and consistent. The pain of the software experience really is definitely on the inner display, and that stems from not being able to change your home screen layout to a different outer display layout from what you have, and also the lack of being able to run more than 2 apps side by side. And the biggest pain point is the lack of true full screen experience on all apps, especially third-party apps. The black bar experience, it just ain't it. And yes, sometimes if you do rotate the display, some of the apps do give you a full screen experience. But is this what we have to resort to on a foldable at this price? I'm seriously not the one to really care about software that much. I'm being dead serious, but when it comes to foldables, correct optimization is important. And in the current state of things, with the inner display on the Pixel Fold, it's a hard one to take. Maybe Android 14 will be the step up we need to see the Pixel Fold really shine, but to wait a good 3 months at the earliest to see if that will even be the case is a painful one to chew, and basically summarizes that the software is much more enjoyable on the outside than it is on the inside on the Pixel Fold. When I first heard the Pixel Fold was packing a 4,821 mAh battery, I had high hopes it would hold well when it comes to the battery life. But again, nothing summarizes the Skywalker effect more than the battery and especially the charging experience of the Pixel Fold. At best, you might be able to get 7+ hours of screen on time if you're conservative, but most of the time, we're going to be getting 4+ hours of screen on time, and that's pretty much what you're working with. Although working from home and having charging close by is one thing to help, but the charging speeds of the Pixel Fold just take the cup when it comes to how long it takes to get to 100, which in my testing took a good 2 hours and 15 minutes. If Google listened with the charging speeds like they did with adding a matte finish to the back, I'll be a happy man. At this rate, I'm just gonna hold my breath and hope for a miracle. Right now, I feel the pain that Master Obi-Wan felt with Anakin when he screamed, "You were the chosen one," because Pixel Fold was really meant to set the tone in check for the foldable experience when it comes to Android. And when it comes to the design, build, and camera, it really does. But for everything else, considering the asking price, I'm not sure I can wholeheartedly recommend it. This is the case, unless you're trading in and getting a great discount outright or through your carrier on a solid offer, it's a tough sell. Then again, this is still my favorite foldable of 2023, and there's a level of guilt I feel with that statement, and I hope the second time around, and also the third installment of the Pixel Fold, Google really steps up to the plate, especially with software.